You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for February 17th, 2023. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where Nikki Haley's announcement that she's running to be Trump's vice president isn't exactly tearing up the pea patch. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. Yeah.
And I gotta say, Nikki Haley's opening campaign video was just plain gross.
Yeah. I watched it with the volume turned down. And the first minute is I'm wondering if this is a Netflix murder series.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, just small town. Here's a classroom picture. Here's a person in the classroom. I'm like,
here's railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And there's Laura Palmer. Oh God.
Oh no. Is this Mayor of Winningham or whatever the name of that show was?
Right.
Mayor of Easttown. And no, it's her trying to run the splunge candidacy.
Yep.
I'm on both sides of everything.
Yep.
And it's not going to work. And you got to wonder why she thinks it will. I mean, what she's succeeding in doing is pissing off everybody, except maybe the editorial board of the New York Times. And half of those people ain't going to vote for her no matter who it is. So, whatever. But I don't care about Nikki
Some people
Haley.
at the New York Times don't vote because they think that's being partisan.
That's right. That's being very partisan.
Peter Baker doesn't vote.
Yeah, Peter Baker doesn't do a lot of things.
So Nikki Haley's campaign video was released the day after yet another fucking school shooting in fucking America.
Yep.
God damn it.
Yep.
There's me cussing again.
Well,
Michigan State, you're in our hearts.
Yeah.
And I texted my girls, on college campuses right now.
Yeah.
And just
absolutely
horrible. But Nikki Haley took this opportunity to list atrocities in other parts of the world and said, and I quote from her video, in China, they commit genocide. In Iran, they murder their own people for challenging the government. And when a woman tells you about watching soldiers throw her baby into a fire, it puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even on our worst day, we are blessed to live in America. You.
She wants to be Ronald Reagan and it to be 1980 so much. It's morning in America.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, we've had 40 years of the Reagan Revolution, and this is the shithole that Republicans have delivered on, and she's one of them.
She's one of them.
And she doesn't want to be, but she doesn't want to piss off the people who can actually get her elected, who are the people that she really, really, really hates.
That will be on Donald Trump's quote-unquote vice presidential search committee and say, you can't pick the crazy lady from Arizona because she's unstable.
I tend to think the opposite. I think that Trump's experience, Trump going through his coup with Mike Pence, who is loyal about everything else except for doing that one thing.
Yeah.
If
it's
he gets the nomination,
him choose.
Yeah,
Lake.
He's gonna cruise he's gonna get Tucker Carlson or Kerry Lake or Marjorie Taylor Greene or some absolutely bugfuck crazy outright fascist
who will absolutely overturn an election for him.
Right, and then all he has to worry about for 4 years is someone tasting his food because those people will try to off him and take over because that's who they are. But this is this is her party. Swear to God, Nikki, this is your fucking party, and I
apologize for all the cussing right up front. I know. I apologize. I'm very emotional about college shootings, as I'm sure all of us are.
Well, and you have been for the 13 years of this podcast. There's certain issues that set you off, and this
threatening my children's lives is one of them.
And this is not to take the tension out of that or to get us off track, but Joe Walsh, crazy Joe Walsh, Joey Muskets on Twitter talking about, I'm a gun owner and, but I'm for sensible gun control. And he's having arguments with people who know gun control way better than he does. He's a worshiper of guns. He's one of those people that, until you get the buy-in from the gun community, from gun owners, forget it. You're never going to get anything passed. Mm-hmm. I believe in sensible gun control, but you can't just impose it from the outside because 90% of Americans want it. And I asked him point blank. And of course, Joe never responds to pointed questions like this because he's kind of a coward. But how many mass shootings will it take until the gun community comes around to do something? Just give me a number. Is it 100 more, 1,000 more? How many more mass shootings will it take before the people that you are advocating for and say, well, they would be reasonable if only ... How many more bodies have to be stacked up before they come around to it? Or are you just full of shit? And I think he's just full of shit on this issue. They've got this wiring in their brain, this Republican, hardcore, libertarian, Tea Party wiring that they cannot get rid of. So however much they sort of dip their toe into the middle, into the resistance, and I don't want to be part of that Trump crowd, but I want to own an arsenal. And if I want to own an arsenal, you have to get my permission to take that arsenal away from me, or it won't work. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck you, man. Just fuck you. This is a uniquely American problem caused by the uniquely American insane right wing. Mm-hmm. And that's all. And that's all I have to say about that. Really.
I want to wish my dad a happy 87th birthday.
Yeah.
Friday is his birthday. Yeah. He is 87. He just got a new apartment and a new used car. Mm-hmm. And he's coming for a visit soon. We're very excited about that. Mm-hmm. And happy birthday.
Could we?
He's
could we have him on a
doing great.
Could we have him on a podcast? Could we have him as?
I don't think so. I think he's too cool for that.
I think he is. I think he's just looking. No, actually, I don't think he's looking forward to seeing us at all. I think he's looking forward to seeing youngest child and hanging out and talking about art. For
art with her and taking her to a museum someplace. Yeah, he's just those two. His youngest grandchild and he are tight. Simpatico,
right. It's wonderful to see. Yep. It's wonderful to see.
Yep. So, but we're so glad that he's doing well and sharp as a tack and likes to read mysteries about drunk detectives or recovered alcoholic detectives in Ireland. Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple of those, though. So
only a few of those books out there.
Yeah, he's going to run out of those sometime in the 2027s or 2028s or 2030s.
And if there's one good thing about the New York Times, the crossword puzzle keeps my dad sharp.
He
does it every day in ink. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's an impressive fellow and a man of Chicago.
He's a man of Chicago. He is.
A man of Chicago. So we see eye to eye on a great number of things.
Yes.
Speaking of influential podcasts, which we just were, I understand there's this new study that found that Steve Bannon's podcast spreads more falsehoods and unsubstantiated bullshit than any other podcast, with Charlie Kirk coming in a close second. So all I got to say is, Blue Gal, we gotta up our game.
Yeah, right.
And this is a quote from the article. Conservative podcasters were 11 times as likely as liberal podcasters to share false claims. So again, I got to say, if we want to be in that top tier, Blue Gal, we're going to have to start lying a lot more. I mean, just a whole lot more. And I don't know about the subject you want to lie about.
Well, I've got an idea of how we could practice upping our game to tell conservative lies.
Uh-huh.
We could go on a conservative cruise in the Mediterranean.
And when you say we, you mean you, right? Because I would rather eat a bag of rocks and jump overboard.
First of all, Driftglass not only would not fit on the bed in a cruise cabin.
No, I would not.
His head would get bumped in the bathroom and in the hallways and in the, Those cruise ships are not built for Driftglass. Not for 6'8" guys. No, they're just not.
I'll need my own lifeboat, so I'm sorry.
He gets his own lifeboat to sail along behind the boat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I did a post this week at Crooks and Liars called, "So which Dante's Fifth Circle of Hell cruise will you take?" Because you have a choice, Driftglass. If you are a conservative cruiser, you can go on either the Media Research Center's cruise with Brent Bozell, Rick Santorum, and Jason Chaffetz, along with Cal Thomas and Joe Concha.
Oh, God.
That's a 9-day cruise with those guys.
Wow. Is it priced to move, Blue Gal? Is it something?
It's a trip you'll remember for years to come, according to Brett Bozell.
We should start a Don't You Dare GoFundMe.
Don't you dare GoFundMe. Yes.
I swear not to spend a dime. We did this before.
On a Brent Bozell cruise.
We promised, unlike the Lincoln Project, to screw with the right and not spend a single dime on Fox News advertising that would go directly into Rupert Murdoch's pocket. If you fund us now, we promise not a single dime will go towards the Dante's Fifth Circle of Hell cruise of your choice.
Either one of them, because the other one is the Mark Stein cruise. Join Mark Stein and Michelle Bachmann for a 7-day Adriatic cruise full of relaxation, revelry, and review. Thoughtful discussions of the state of Western civilization.
Yeah.
Analysis of political and cultural trends from the United States to the far reaches of the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. And live editions of the features you've come to know and love from Stein Online.
Oh, God.
This cruise will sell out once again, so act quickly. And these do not overlap, so you could do both of them.
So there's no chance they could collide with each other and everyone could go down?
No, there is no chance they could collide with one another.
All right.
You know who used to do these conservative cruises all the time? Bill Kristol.
Yeah.
But, his ship has sailed.
His lifeboat. Darling.
He's got a lifeboat behind him.
Yeah, a whole
Can I get
armada
a drink
of lifeboats.
with an umbrella, please? No, you can't have one.
No. Oh, no, the Never Trump lifeboats are very luxurious and well appointed.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they certainly are. But you pointed out to me in the kitchen, and as I said to you, our entire house could be paid off with the amount of money spent on drinks on these cruises.
Oh, yeah. Oh, easily. Mm-hmm.
The deal breaker for the Bozell cruise is if Mr. Bachmann is on the Stein boat with Michelle Bachmann.
Yeah, got it. I have to know that in advance.
You have to know that in advance. So Marcus Bachmann, ahoy there, sailor.
Yeah, I need to sit down across the bar and just have 9 drinks. And find out what the hell is really going on with that guy and his wife.
See,
and that
that's
party.
why the Mark Stein cruise doesn't come with a free drinks package like the Bozell cruise does.
See.
Of course, for us, it would have to come with a free drinks package.
I'll need a lot of alcohol on this trip.
Yeah.
Although there's that bit from the Watchman movie. It's not Haley Joel Osment, but it's the guy who plays Rorschach. He's in prison, and he's about to get, stomped in prison by guys who are much bigger than he is. And he realizes it, and he takes one of the biggest ones out with a dinner tray and a deep fryer vat, which he dumps over the guy's head. And as they're dragging him away, he's yelling, "You don't seem to get it. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me."
Yeah.
And that's why I want to be on a cruise with these guys. No, guys, you're stuck in here with me.
Yeah.
You're here for 9 days of drift class, bitches. So let's start drinking right now.
Yes, see, people are going to want to give to a GoFundMe for that kind of drama.
And just watch them running off that ship like rats from a well-sinking ship.
Drift class is on the Lido deck. Watch out.
Yeah, baby. I got my own slideshow going up here. You want to know? You want to hear about the history of your party?
Yeah.
I'll go on that cruise. Okay, I changed my mind. I'll go on that cruise.
You're stuck on this boat for 9 days with me, Michelle Bachmann.
Yeah. Oh no, we're not docking anywhere. No. There are definitely seasons to politics. So there's a season every year when your eyes light up and go, "Oh, it's the time for the cruises now." the time for the National Review Online cruise. And this is now the season where we've entered the Rick Perry, John Huntsman phase of political media reportage, where minor players toss their hat into the ring and hats that will be incinerated down to the sweatband once the primaries begin. But it gives the mainstream media horse race fun stuff to talk about and some sweet, sweet relief from having to talk about boring, important things. Even though, and this is the part of it that is just, you're stuck with this because this is the horse race coverage that we're doomed to have forever. Even though their coverage is dull and predictable since everyone kind of knows in advance which horses are going to collapse right out of the gate, and then will come the glue factory truck to take them off to a seat at CNN or MSNBC where they will become a trusted political analyst for the rest of the season. So I've been hearing, comparing Ron DeSantis to Jeb Bush with a bad attitude. or people actually soberly considering, Nikki Haley would be the perfect Republican candidate in 2015, or Nikki Haley is the Republican Hillary Clinton, which is boring. So I'm suggesting that you come to us to ask for comparisons because we're writers and not boring political hacks. So how about Ron DeSantis as Tim Pawlenty with lycanthropy? He's a wolf man. Or how about Nikki Haley is what happens when Mitt Romney becomes a killbot and escapes from the lab and eats Bobby Jindal's heart. What about that? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, yeah.
Or Mike Pompeo is trying to serve up a red meat and white bread with mayo sandwich from a Rally Burger drive-through window. How about that? Does that make any sense? No, at all. None whatsoever. But it's interesting and it sounds fun. Or Chris Christie is Fred Thompson with Newt Gingrich living inside of him like that Quarto thing from Total Recall.
That pops out of his belly button?
Out of his chest says, I'm here to talk to you about a 10-point plan for taking the party back to power. So, that's more interesting to have that conversation.
That's real Fred Mentum too, Drifter.
It really is. It really is. It's got that kind of slow rolling, I'm just going to sit over here because I'm kind of tired. But he has that Newt Gingrich growth inside of him that makes it so interesting. So I think, look, if you idiots are going to keep doing horse race shit over candidates that are going to be Herman Cain'd in the first round, but they're paying their publicists to pay you so you'll talk about them on your stupid shows because that's how things work.
It is a circle jerk, an absolute circle jerk of everybody's got to get paid, so let's do this.
So hire us to punch up the script. We can actually write some weird acoustic shit that won't make any sense but sounds like free jazz that might make your boring horse race coverage a little more interesting and palatable. Because if that's all we're going to get, I prefer it with a little frosting on top rather than the
little
dry
mustard
cake.
On that sandwich. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Put a little stank on it, boys and girls. Now, I understand that there's a competing infrastructure plan with the Joseph R. Biden.
This is amazing. Marjorie Taylor Greene said Republican infrastructure plan. She said those 3 words in a row.
Wow. Okay.
And apparently now that Ohio is having a ecological disaster.
Yep.
Republicans and especially all of the Tucker Carlson viewers out there are terribly, terribly concerned about the Environmental Protection Act.
Which is all Pete Buttigieg's fault.
Yeah, and it's all Pete Buttigieg's fault.
He didn't fix 50-year crumbling infrastructure by snapping his fingers after the infrastructure bill was passed a minute ago.
Then of course we find out, because everything is projection in the Republican Party, that it was Donald Trump who rolled back regulations that Obama had put in place regarding train brakes, because undoing everything Obama did was the only thing Donald Trump was good at.
Yeah, he was elected to do that. He was elected to do that.
Erase the Obama administration. Yeah. Correct.
Now, I have a question for you. Question from the audience. Did you find out about the Obama administration rules and that Trump rolled them back on Fox News or OAN, or was it Newsmax that reported on that? Breaking. Really kind of important part of the story.
Actually, Fox and Friends did mention it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised.
Really?
But Fox and Friends did mention, but what Fox and Friends said is that Trump changed some of the rules.
Oh, I see.
He didn't roll them back or reverse them or make them worse or anything like that. He just changed some of the things Obama did.
Yeah. Like
using the verb changed, is neutral, right?
Yeah. Like disruption. It's a good thing.
Marjorie Taylor Greene's had quite a week because she went and got an estimated $15,000 this past weekend to speak to an Idaho Republican Party group for $175 a pop, and it was sold out.
Okay.
She decided that instead of giving a speech, she would just shout out poll questions to the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And so she said, how many of you think Mitch McConnell is a Democrat?
I remember that. I saw this. Yeah.
And they all raised their hands. And then some people yelled out, communist.
Yeah.
So I hope Mitch McConnell feels real good about the fact that the people that he stole Supreme Court seats for hate his guts.
Yeah.
Because he does not want to destroy the world economy to own the libs.
I picture Mitch with his sleeping bag showing up at the White House door going, "Could I crash on your lawn?" Because everyone at my house is fucking crazy. And the answer is, and who are you? And what do you want?
are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is the big, and I'm going to use a big word now, but it's Procrustean. The Procrustean bed that these fuckers made. They built it. And part of the thing we're going to talk about in a little bit is how long it took them to build the party to this point. It wasn't 6 years or 7 or 8. It was 30 or 40 or 50.
Yeah.
And they were all in on it, and they were all a part of it. Nikki Haley, Mitch McConnell, Marjorie Taylor Greene is their love child. And now they really hate what they've created, and they can't say it out loud.
Well, they can't let it go because she is the one who can get $175 a person from the base of the party.
Yeah.
And they need that because Trump's taken all of the small donor money that's out there. If you don't have a dinner with Marjorie Taylor Greene in it, you're not going to get Republican-based money.
And it's like, you remember after Newt Gingrich got cashiered from the GOP, got run out of the town, remember who crawled out of the sewer to help run the party for a while? Tom DeLay.
Tom DeLay.
And it's like they learned nothing from the lesson of Tom DeLay.
No.
It just, he put on a dress and now it's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
But it's the same dynamic. It's everyone knows this person's a monster and everyone knows that they're completely beholden to this monster for their jobs. And they can't get rid of it. They can't get rid of George Santos. I mean, they can't, no matter what
exactly.
they do.
But every time Marjorie Taylor Greene opens her mouth, yes, she gets $175 from a Republican base voter, but she also registers 2 Democrats or 3 from Gen Z. We're like, oh, no.
It just occurred to me, Blue Gal.
Yeah.
We're like the positive opposite number to Marjorie Taylor Greene, because every time we talk, we get a $175 check from George Soros.
No, we don't.
And we register 2 new Democrats in the party. So
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, I really do. This is all for naught if we're not moving the ball forward,
I know I have said this before, but youngest child had the opportunity to go to college in the state of Illinois.
Yes, she did.
Where we have a Democratic governor and a supermajority Democratic legislature and legal pot and she said, no, I want to go to University of Missouri, St. Louis, because there's more to protest there.
Yeah. Yep.
And she wanted to be near Ferguson. She wanted to be at the heart of the Black Lives Matter movement. She is not a white savior.
No.
She is.
Nope. She's an ally.
She is an ally. 100%. Right. She totally gets it. More than I do. She gets it. And, but even still, she is texting me with headlines from what the Missouri state legislature is doing regarding trans youth. And she's utterly horrified. And so, I mean, she has plenty of opportunity to protest. I said, this is what you wanted, right?
Yeah. Well,
but I think of her when I hear any Republican opening their mouth about anything, because she's 19 this month. And she's a registered voter and someone who very much is an influencer within her social group in terms of voting, in terms of getting registered to vote, in terms of making a difference. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't want to get rid of her because she's actually benefiting my party. She is.
Well,
short term and long term. She's a monster. But every time she opens her mouth, at least 2 or 3 more Gen Zers say, oh.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. And honestly, first of all, don't tell her this, but, she is her mother's daughter.
Thank you.
There were all these discussions that we had in our family over the years about the degree to which mom or stepdad were taking an active role in the raising of the kids, and you didn't give there was too much of this and not enough of that, and you look at where they are now, it's like, no, you just didn't understand the water in which you were swimming.
Yep.
was everywhere. It was all around you. And I deem that a success.
Middle child complaining that there were no rules in my house.
Right.
Mom, you don't have any rules. I don't understand it. You don't have any rules. And I'm sitting there going, you're on the governor's student council.
Right. and you're going to a little. You're going
You're
for a
meeting
little art.
with the mayor next week.
You're going from a small art school in Chicago, in Springfield, to a liberal arts college in Wisconsin,
yeah,
and kicking ass and doing computer stuff and running 2 clubs and.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's okay. Whatever story you want to tell yourself.
You're right.
That's
I
great.
didn't have a chore chart on my fridge that made you go and make your bed every day. Well, I did not do that.
And this kind of leans into the next thing I wanted to mention, which is that the year before youngest child was born, 20 years ago, it was the anniversary of the largest protest in history, up until the Women's March.
Up until the Women's March, right?
Yeah,
right.
The opposition to the Iraq War. 20 years ago this week was the giant march against the Iraq War all over the world. Millions of people, tens of millions of people all over the world. And what's memorable about those protests were how far it spread and how much of an anti-war community it sparked all over the world, but also how effectively the media just ignored it.
Yep.
Just pretended it wasn't happening, because this is the part about cancel culture that I don't think gets enough attention, because there's nobody to talk about it except you and me, which is ignoring the liberal voice in society is baked into the thing.
Yeah,
it's part of the machine. You simply pretend that there aren't tens of millions of people protesting all over the world. And you simply pretend that the liberals aren't jumping up and down, screaming and warning about the direction the GOP is taking. And you simply pretend that the Republican Party has always been against deficits, or always not cared about deficits, or the Tea Party is legitimate, and people who say otherwise, or people who oppose the war are degenerate, America-hating scum. And that's not the conservative media. That's the mainstream media. The whole mainstream media, with like 1 or 2 exceptions, completely rolled over for George Bush and Dick Cheney lying us into that catastrophe. And the reason you never hear about actual cancel culture that marginalizes and ignores liberals is that ignoring liberals is part of the media machine for as long as it takes, and for as long as anyone can remember. And everyone at this point just takes it for granted that that the voices in politics are never Trump Republicans and Trump Republicans. And that's it. That's the extent of the conversation. And every time you hear Never Trumpers talking, they talk about how basically they single-handedly saved democracy, and they have a democracy project, and they changed the tide of history. And I look at the 80 million Democrats who actually did the work, and all the activists, all the liberal activists who actually did the work, who never get mentioned at all. We racked up, we racked up 99.99% of all the victories you're talking about. And you might have made a marginal difference at the 0.0001% way down the line, or nothing at all. And yet the people who are focused on are the people who swear that their grift that raised $100 million is the thing that changed history and saved America. And it's easy to forget that those are the same people who 20 years ago were calling us anarchist, communist, America-hating scum.
Yeah.
And I will never get over that. There's certain things I'm not going to get over. I'm not going to get over trying to take away my family's health care.
Right.
I'm not going to get over Bill Kristol and all these scumbags lying us into the wrong war and calling us traitors for ever questioning anything they did. And then turning around and pretending like it didn't matter, or it didn't happen, or who cares, or let's move on, or now we have a bigger enemy that we created. So let's all get together and fight the bigger enemy, although we're going to lead and you're going to shut up and do what we tell you to do because we understand politics and you don't.
Right.
And I'm not getting past that anytime soon. So what can I say? Maybe a nice cruise will help me. Maybe a nice calming ocean cruise.
With a drinks package.
Yeah.
Where's Kevin McCarthy?
I don't know. I'm looking for his striped shirt everywhere, and I'm not seeing it.
Well, he's on 18-day congressional leave, Driftglass.
Oh.
You know who isn't taking an 18-day congressional leave or a leave of any kind this month, Driftglass?
Who?
The White House comms office. Also, the Democratic senators are not taking an 18-day leave either. They had a press conference yesterday about the Republicans' budget proposals. Now, Driftglass, I think you missed this story.
I think I did.
And I kind of know you did because you didn't write it up. And I know you would have if you'd seen it. This is from CNN.com from Monday.
Okay.
Kevin McCarthy leans on the Republican Party's 5 families as House GOP plots debt limit tactics.
Uh-huh.
In the Speaker's office last week, this is from CNN.com, leaders of the so-called 5 families of the House GOP, representing the various ideological wings of the conference, met, this is Monday, right? Met for the first time. What day is it? To discuss the range of possibilities and to kick around ideas about raising the debt limit.
Oh, God.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
McCarthy didn't attend the session.
He wasn't invited. Good God.
Talks are expected to pick up when the House returns from a 2-week recess.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
He's hoping to get 218 votes from the 5 families, Driftglass.
That would be nice. That'd be a great thing if he could. These are the 5 families inside the conference, right?
Yes, right. Well, right. I don't know what wings of the party they represent. It didn't say. But, oh my God.
Here's the thing. The only thing I know about Kevin is this.
Yeah?
Kevin's a pimp. He'd never have outfought Marjorie Taylor Greene alone.
We always knew it was Marjorie Taylor Greene all along.
We knew it was Richard Uihlein all along.
We knew it was Richard Uihlein all along. That's more like it. Meanwhile, yesterday, Senate Democrats, headed up by Chuck Schumer at the lectern.
Sure, yeah.
Gave a press conference with a multi-page report written by Debbie Stabenow's committee, bless her heart. Her committee worked very hard and went through the Republican budget proposals, which you're right, don't include cuts to Medicare or Social Security.
Oh my goodness. Oh, no.
But what they do is the MAGA-controlled House, this is from the executive summary of her report, the MAGA-controlled House votes to protect tax cheats, a move that will balloon the deficit. And now they're pitching brutal budget cuts that will leave our families stretched thinner, our economy weaker, our country less defended, and our seniors sicker and poorer. Included in these cuts that Republicans want to make to the budget, Border Patrol, federal aid to law enforcement, local law enforcement, fuel assistance for seniors, Head Start, WIC, and Chuck Schumer made a big deal about they want to take baby formula away from 1 million babies.
Great.
Yeah. Great. So, and the part about cutting Border Patrol, when your whole party's propaganda is fentanyl, borders, border, illegal immigration.
Here's a thing that you remember if you're from Chicago, especially, or from Illinois, and you are you've got a podcast called No Fair Remembering Stuff.
Yeah.
Remember when Dan Rosinkowski tried to fiddle with Medicare?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And he got chased down by a mob of old people in Chicago.
And they were like banging on the hood of his car.
Yeah. Get out of here, you son of a bitch. There are certain things that, and this is Dan Rosinkowski. He was the House Ways and Means guy, I think.
Right.
He lost his job. He was ousted from Congress over some stamps and some other things he shouldn't have been doing. But this is just madness. If you think you can, I'll stop saying this because they are not capable of learning any lessons at all. Because
no, they're not.
A percentage of their base.
Janet Yellen is now pulling the pin on a grenade. Because she said this week, I don't know if we'll be able to make Social Security payments in June.
Yep. Because of Republicans.
Because of Republicans, if there isn't a debt ceiling increase, I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I just want to see the 5 families
in the bunker
who, when Kevin McCarthy doesn't show up for the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really do think that if they just stay within the Fox News, Newsmax bubble, they'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even people that watch nothing but Newsmax know if their Social Security check is late.
Again, there's so many, this is a Sicilian message, Kevin.
Yeah,
this is what it means to go to the mattresses, Kevin.
Absolutely. And you know who's going to the mattresses? I hate to say it. Debbie Stabenow.
Yeah,
to the mattresses.
Right. All right, let's go. Let's have a party. Come on.
But she's at work.
Yeah, Democrats are spitting mad and ready for a fight.
Right.
Go ahead and pick a fight, and pick a fight that'll piss off senior citizens. Old white senior citizens who are your fucking base. Go ahead. Do that.
Go ahead, Nikki Haley, and tell America that you think Joe Biden is too old.
Right. That's right. That and that she said like that, politicians over a certain age need to be cognitively tested. And it was like 1 year short of Donald Trump's age.
Yeah. Right.
So it was, okay, Nikki. And you know what? I think Indian Americans need to be tested as well, too, for, I don't know, loyalty to America. You know what I'd like to see, Nikki? I'd like to see your long-form birth certificate. Because I think it's only fair, don't you think? It's only fair that we put special people through special tests, don't you think, Nikki? and I, obviously I don't think any of that, but these fuckers are just exhausting. And I'm glad to see that the usually slow, grinding, moribund, let's all work together to be a bipartisan party is finally showing that they can bust some knuckles.
Right.
And make some people like, no, fuck you. Here's what's going to happen if you don't do this, Kevin. Right. This is the job you wanted, Kevin. Well, now it's your job. And if you want to go on a 3-week holiday, the first couple of months of your new job while the world burns, well, we'll make sure everybody knows it. And the base won't care. Your base won't care because they're basically, as we say, reprogrammable meat bags. But
until their Social Security check is late, they won't care. You're right.
Yeah, and
they don't care what kind of musical chairs Mike Pence is playing either, because they're not going to vote for him.
And every Democrat in every congressional office needs to have a recorded message saying, "Take it up with the Republicans."
Yep.
Take it up with them. It's got nothing to do with me. Well, I'm Bennett, and I'm not in it. So, shall we talk about collateralized debt obligation?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I just finished our taxes drift class, and my brain is a little fried with numbers, but
this is an analogy. So strap in because it's analogy time. I had occasion to watch The Big Short or parts of The Big Short again, which is the wonderful movie about the collapse of the housing market. Right. Adam McKay. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. And I got very angry all over again. And I got kind of wistful for everything I had lost and millions of people like me had lost because arrogant monsters and arrogant institutions and corrupt, rating agencies all decided that they were going to use the American housing market as a casino where you just bet with the house money, you never lose, and everything's going to be fine. And I went through it and looked at all the movies that are out there for that sort of thing. There are documentaries. There's a wonderful video by Bird and Fortune, the British comedy team that was very popular a few years ago. There's kind of meh movies about it. There are documentaries about it. There's a lot of stuff about it. But here's the thing. I put on my thinking cap and started to notice that the Republican Party bears a strong resemblance structurally to the bubble, the housing bubble. It's a malignant bubble that nearly destroyed and may yet destroy the country. And if you think about it a minute, it's awfully similar. So what do I mean by that? The GOP is to American politics what the collateralized debt obligations were to the housing market before the housing market went to shit. First, there was a general and unspoken understanding among inside players that a certain percentage of the Republican Party base was, kind of problematic. That they're, to say the least, they're bigots and imbeciles and lunatics and grifters and all the people that we talk about on this podcast. Second, it turned out that the political equivalent of the rating agencies, which is the mainstream media, who were supposed to be the system's impartial referees, had absolutely no incentive to actually look under the GOP's hood and see what the hell was going on down there. Instead, they had every financial and professional incentive to continue to mark the GOP as rock-solid AAA graded party for decades, after all the underlying elements of the party, that'd be the base and the media and key GOP leaders and all the serious pundits and all the important papers, had all gone to shit. They'd all lost their minds. And yet, the media was still pretending this was a normal party and everything was going to be fine because nobody in the media was going to destroy their reputation or risk all that insider access by identifying with and agreeing with the American-hating, terrorist-loving liberals who were jumping up and down screaming that something is wrong here, very, very wrong here, and that it's getting very, very bad, and it's much worse than you can imagine, and it's going to blow up. Because that would have meant saying that the voters of the party were toxic, that they were a disaster waiting to happen. And once that internal rot became too horrible to hide, what happened? The rating agencies, the media, simply switched over to, well, okay, fine, the GOP might be bad, but there's no place else to put your vote because both sides are equally bad. All the investment instruments you have available to you are just all equally terrible. So what you should do, is look for a third alternative maybe. Maybe David French or writing Ronald Reagan or Evan McMullen, some exotic instrument where you can stash your vote so you can feel self-righteous and some alchemy will happen and something, and then you'll disrupt the system and it'll all work out. But we're never going to say the Republican Party is the problem, ever. And then Trump happened. And then things got very, very bad, very, very fast. But you know what happened in the end? It kind of ended up the same way as the housing crisis. The corrupt rating agencies, the mainstream media, is still pretty much intact, and all the same hacks and quislings all have the same jobs, and nobody got fired. And the dogshit GOP, who are still packed to the rafters with the same crazy people, the same bigots and imbeciles and lunatics, is still intact and still being treated as a serious political party by the corrupt rating agencies. And all the cynical rage and hate brokers, the men who fucking well knew the base was insane, but continued to work to bundle the base together so they could deliver elections for GOP scum, have by and large done pretty well. Some of them are still with the Republican Party, and others, the smart ones who got run out of the party, just walked across the street and opened up a shop selling the, oh my God, can you believe how awful the Republican Party is after Trump, stocks to the eager buyers of the mainstream media. And nowhere, except in what little remains of the liberal media, and by that I mean the liberal blogosphere, you and me, Blue Gal, liberal podcasts, will you hear anyone breaking down what actually happened to the Republican Party, what's actually wrong with the Republican Party, and how long it's been going on. There's no movies, there's no documentary, no nothing. Because all the very serious people made the same decision about the GOP that they made about the housing market. It's too big to fail. It's too big to fail, so we need to prop it up, even if we need to lie about it and make up fairy tales about it, because if the GOP goes down, the whole country goes down, and we cannot have that. So we're just going to pretend everything's fine, everyone gets paid, and we'll just sort of limp along past this crisis and hope for the best. And that's where I think the liberal media and our podcasts come in handy, because we're just about the only outlet that's going to talk to you about the actual long, involved, corrupt history going back decades that brought us to the crisis. And that's what I mean by CDOs.
Well, and I also think that the housing crisis, a lot of what happened with the housing crisis, and we don't have time to talk about this, had to do with how housing was deregulated and mortgages and banking and everything. And it was a free-for-all. And we have that now. If you aren't following the money, you're just thinking about the politics of it and you're not following the money. Citizens United created this Republican Party. And I've said this before, it is not an accident that a corrupt grifter like Donald Trump was the first Republican president under Citizens United. Because he and George Santos and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these grifters saw that there was a Wild West free money to be had. And that is what has corrupted our politics, is that, Mitch McConnell and the Supreme Court opened the door and said, okay, all the money you want, here it is. And if you don't seal that up, the easy place to get it where you will not get pushed out of the party is the Republican House.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that's it.
And
hey, we got to say, way to go, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Go for it, darling.
He needs to do a dab, right?
Yeah.
Moderna's CEO makes COVID-19 vaccine free rather than go before Bernie Sanders' committee. Hey, I would too.
Yeah. No. Don't make me do that.
Don't make me go and talk to Bernie Sanders. I don't want to do it. Well, you're not going to be able to make a 400% profit on that. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't want to do it.
So way to go, Bernie Sanders. I mean, I'm very glad Bernie Sanders is where he is and doing what he's doing. Really,
right.
I
Absolutely. Absolutely. Chairing a committee and being able to call witnesses and subpoena CEOs.
And really delivering for, his constituents and for the country from that position, really doing concrete, verifiable good things for the country.
And I want to say, we will have that again with either of the major candidates for U.S. Senate in California.
Yeah.
My heart is with Katie Porter.
Yes.
But you guys out in California are damn spoiled.
Yeah, you are.
To have a choice, to have the choices you do for U.S. Senate with Adam Schiff and there are other people getting ready to join as well. But
because we just got our first Democratic congressperson in years in this district.
Seriously,
so
seriously.
Yeah.
And it was through a lot of gerrymandering, and I hate to admit that, but that's what it was. And they tried to gerrymander it before, and it didn't quite work, so they gerrymandered it again and again and again to get rid of Rodney Davis. And here we are. And I'm grateful. We have a Democratic congresswoman now. That's great.
Yeah.
But it's too bad it has to be through this kind of map manipulation. Driftglass, do you want to do a news roundup?
I'd be delighted, Blue Gal. George Santos and Marjorie Taylor Greene are teaming up on a federal bill to ban books featuring LGBTQ themes. I'm not sure what George Santos is going to do about the drag section of those books, but okay, have at it, George. And, they're the Republican Party. The two of them are the Republican Party. They're the Mon Pa Kettle, the George and Martha Washington of the modern Republican Party are those two clowns.
I wonder which of the 5 families George Santos is a member of.
All of them, honey. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He founded all of them, right?
He did.
This was the saddest story of the week to discover that Jackie Matthews, who survived the Michigan State mass shooting, also survived Sandy Hook, because we are now generationally surviving one mass shooting after another. Don't let your nerves get immune to this.
Right. And try not to get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. You are my buffer against despair, Driftglass. This week there were a couple times in the kitchen where I just had to put my head right at your solar plexus and push in and say, give me a hug. I need a hug.
Absolutely. Well,
because I'm scared for my girls.
Well, and if you're out there and you have a Moms Demand Action group near you, go.
Yep.
They'd love to
give
put you
money
to work.
to Moms Demand Action in every town. I have my Moms Demand Action t-shirt in the closet there, and I wear it. Yep.
So do what you can where you are, and do not despair. This story is from Crooks and Liars. I do a little writing for them on the side. Mike's Blog Roundup.
You're doing Mike's Blog Roundup this week.
Yeah. Just a brief aside, one of the great internet traditions is Mike's Blog Roundup. It is the original blogger ethos from the early days of blogging. The look up, link down.
Right.
Find smaller blogs out there that are doing good work that aren't getting the proper attention, throw a spotlight at them. And it's an honor to do it. And I really do believe the original impulses of the liberal blogosphere were the correct ones, and they had gotten lost.
You give links to smaller blogs. That was a tradition for a very long time.
Yeah.
And Mike's Blog Roundup, Mike Finnegan, rest in peace. He started it, and we continue it for him and for the blogosphere. Yep.
So from that wonderful website, Crooks and Liars, Sarah Palin just lost a congressional race in Alaska because voters there are sick of her act. This is a story, I think, by John Amato. Nevertheless, she told Newsmax that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis should not run against Trump in the 2024 Republican primaries because she is such an expert.
Well, thank God Newsmax called Sarah Palin to find out her opinion on the state of the race.
Yeah.
By the way, Nikki Haley says that there is a constitutional right for states to secede from the union. But she couldn't tell Sean Hannity one thing she'd do different from Trump in her first 4 years. How about not even try to overthrow an election, Haley?
Yeah. The difference between the Trump interregnum, the after Trump moment, and the after Bush moment is that Republicans voters desperately wanted to forget George Bush.
Right.
So they just sort of put on funny hats and called themselves Tea Partiers, and the mainstream media went along with it because they were part of the problem.
With millions of dollars, right.
And the reason that isn't going to quite work this time is that a big chunk of the base doesn't want to forget Donald Trump.
No, Trump gives them a chubby.
Right.
They want that. Yeah.
And so they can't run that play again. And Nikki Haley is stuck in the middle, being neither fish nor fowl, except,
right.
and she's going to lose.
And to a certain extent, they did cash all those checks with the Tea Party.
They did.
So starting up another Tea Party movement to forget Trump. But as you say, 28% of them don't want to forget Trump. They want to wear their MAGA hats and keep going.
They do. And Bush served 2 terms and can't run again and went down to Texas and painted and went away.
Yes.
Trump never went away. And there's a second term he could have. And hope springs eternal for these assholes.
Well, and the percentage of that 28% that think he's still president and running the military
is
with John F. Kennedy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what to say about any of that.
It's like political Starsky and Hutch, Blue Gal. I swear to God.
What?
I don't know. I just picture, the ghost of John F. Kennedy and Trump in a car driving around.
In a souped up striped tomato sports car?
Having adventures. That's the imagination of the never Trumper.
I want a Photoshop of that. All right.
Well, okay. Let's stop the podcast right now. We'll have a Photoshop contest. Republicans' very, very extreme anti-abortion stance cost them hugely in the midterms, especially among women, young people, and college-educated voters, none of which they really care about. But rather than figure out what to do and adjust course and calm down, they are actually doubling down on the crazy because that's who they are.
Well, and that's going to get young voters really, really caring about state legislatures.
Yes.
That's what Youngest Child is figuring out. She's like, oh, my God. You know what the state house in Missouri is doing?
Yes, we do.
Gay youth.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
And there's a wonderful podcast, the Heartland Podcast, comes out of the Midland that does reporting on Missouri politics and so forth. So we are in touch with our, might be tenuous, but our brethren and sister in the Midwest. And, there is a vibrant Midwest liberal voice out here that we're very much a part of. And we'd very much like the coastals to notice it, even if it's not us. Notice that there's a
We are
liberal...
here. We are here. We are
really
here.
Are. We've been here a really long time.
Yeah. CNN is reporting that Special Counsel Jack Smith is locked in at least 8 secret court battles that aim to unearth some of the most closely held details about Donald Trump's actions after the 2020 election and handling of classified material.
On Tuesday, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine explained that President Biden told him during a phone call that he will supply anything that is requested by him to deal with the Palestine Railroad derailment. Governor DeWine, on his conversation with President Biden about the train derailment, said, "What I said to the president is, if we need additional help, we'll tell you, but the people who have been in here from the federal government are doing a very good job," which is not a message the Trump supporters want to hear.
The 19-year-old white supremacist who killed 10 black people at a Buffalo supermarket was sentenced to life in prison without parole. There can be no mercy for you, no understanding, no second chances, Judge Susan Egan said. There is no place for you, she said to the murderer, or your ignorant, hateful, and evil ideologies in a civilized society. The damage you have caused is too great, and the people you have hurt are too valuable to this community. You will never see the light of day as a free man ever again. I really loved how she made it about the victims.
Yeah. Yeah. It always is.
Yeah.
Federal prosecutors investigating Trump's handling of classified documents asked a court to force one of Trump's lawyers to answer questions before a grand jury. The Justice Department cited the, quote, crime fraud exception to attorney-client privilege, saying they have evidence that some of Trump's conversations with his lawyer, Evan Corcoran, were used to carry out a crime or fraud.
And the crime fraud exception was used in the Manafort case.
Uh-huh.
This case that you just read about is being brought before the same judge that found that there was a crime fraud exception in the Manafort case.
Yeah.
As is textbook exactly the same. You're using your lawyer to commit a crime, so you don't get attorney-client privilege because you're doing crimes. In a very Dick Cheney move, Mike Pence will challenge a federal grand jury subpoena issued by the special counsel investigating Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Pence is expected to pretend that the Constitution's speech or debate clause shields him from testifying, saying his role as president of the Senate, i.e., a member of the legislative branch, insulates him from grand jury questions. He used the excuse that he was a member of the executive branch to avoid questions from the January 6th Commission. So he is playing musical chairs. And the thing is that the lawyers can go in front of the judge and say, we just want him to answer questions about X, Y, and Z, and none of those have to do with these exceptions.
Right.
And the judge can say, have him come in. But, he's delaying it. And
like a
that's
real
what
patriot.
they do.
Yeah, he's throwing sand into the machinery of the investigation into the people who tried to murder him.
Right.
Which is, way to go. I mean, that's a level of loyalty that you rarely find outside of hell itself.
Right.
The Florida legislature expanded a program used to fly migrants to Democratic-led cities and states. Governor Ron DeSantis can now relocate migrants from any state in the country, not just from Florida, to blue states that have sanctuary policies in place. Because
and he can do it with taxpayer
lives,
money. He can do it with taxpayer money because the Florida legislature gave Ron DeSantis $10 million to do this. Ron DeSantis before was using, get this, interest from COVID funds. That's what he used to relocate migrants from Texas before. Now he has actual taxpayer money from the taxpayers of Florida. This is what you guys voted for, you Florida Republicans. You voted for your taxes to basically engage in human trafficking. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Also, Ron DeSantis wanted to ban weapons from a Tampa campaign event, but wanted the city-run Tampa convention to take the heat for it when the gun nuts complained.
Yeah, he's a real hero, that guy. Yeah.
Real hero.
Donald Trump reportedly wants to expand the use of the death penalty and bring back death by firing a squad, by hanging, and by guillotine if reelected. So
because TV shows.
Yeah, because that's a hell of a bumper sticker,
Thank you so much for listening, you guys. We love you. Each week we post to our Facebook page and website an internet kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week, my Aunt Mary has a new kitty, and his name is Small Fry. Her name is Small Fry. Mm-hmm. She is an 8-month-old tuxedo kitten who wants to play all the time.
All
Poor
the time.
Aunt Mary.
I cannot emphasize all the time enough.
All the time. Mm-hmm. Poor Aunt Mary. She has her hands full. Aunt Mary has 2 older cats who completely ignore Small Fry. They do not want anything to do with this kitten. But this is a rescue situation, and she's such a sweet kitty, little Small Fry, and we love her. And of course, Small Fry eats freshly poured cat food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve Pet Store Perfection or Dollar Store Dreck, your cats will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured. Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh, my Lord, it's freshly poured. And you can visit Small Fry at our Facebook page or website. Small Fry is really cute.
Yeah.
And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go, Postal Unions! Letter on the air unless you say otherwise. Don't forget our gourmet coffee guideline. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job, and it's our full-time job, and we love doing it. Thank you for supporting us. As I said earlier, I just finished our taxes this week. We're going to get just a little bit back, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather it be zero, but getting a little bit back is better than paying. We always get letters around this time of year saying, I will send you money when my income tax refund comes. We totally get it.
Yes.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for putting us on your list for that when your income tax refund comes. A number of our listeners support this podcast with a contribution, and you can too. See our website, proleftpod.com, for details. We've got PayPal, postal address information, Patreon. All of it is there at proleftpod.com. Please share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, please get someone else to listen to. And thank you so much for doing that. Hey, Drickglass, how are the internet kitties doing this week?
Oh, Blue Gal, the internet kitties say the future is so bright, you might need a classified folder to shield your eyes.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Just think about loving. Think about loving. Just think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2023 DGBG Productions.